The four divine sect unleashes their holy treasures, merging into a heaven-splitting weapon that crushes ancient devil, Tarja, and forces the all-seer to flee, revealing overwhelming, long-forgotten power that terrifies the entire star system. The instant that drop of crimson blood appeared, a flame not meant for this world swept across the heavens. In a blink, the entire sky was drowned in a deep red glow. At last, that impossible flame gathered in the southern sky and took form a vermilion bird. It cried out, its voice piercing and proud, then cast its gaze downward upon all beneath it, carrying an aura of supreme nobility. At the same moment, the elders of the Azure Dragon Divine Sect, beside the Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor, exchanged glances. The leading elder, with 9 azure dragons embroidered upon his robe, inhaled deeply. His hands formed a seal before his chest, and with a sudden roar his aura erupted outward. Pain twisted his expression. The garments over his chest melted away, revealing bare skin. A green light flickered from within, and something slowly emerged. It was a fragment of green wood. The moment it appeared, dragon roars shook the world. In the endless starry sky, countless azure dragons, each stretching hundreds of thousands of feet, manifested. Their roars overlapped, resounding across heaven and earth. A violent ripple surged outward, scattering in all directions. A wild wind rose, as if intent on tearing apart the natural order itself. In the end, the countless dragons gathered in the east, merging into a colossal azure dragon. Its body coiled tightly as it stared down at all beings with a cold, ruthless gaze. At the same time, 7 elders of the White Tiger Divine Sect sat in formation. Their hands formed seals in unison. Golden light burst forth from between their brows, and 7 fragments of broken metal flew out. The fragments fused together mid-air, forming a jagged, irregular piece of metal. Yet the moment they merged, the heavens changed once more. A tiger's roar erupted, shaking the world to its core. A terrifying killing intent swept through the area. Cultivators of weaker will nearly collapsed in terror. Then, following that roar, a massive white tiger emerged. Its form was savage, brimming with ferocity, as though it would tear apart any living being. Floating in the air, its crimson eyes swept across the crowd before it moved to the western sky. The final sect to reveal their holy treasure was the Black Tortoise Divine Sect. After the betrayal of their divine emperor, the sect had been torn in half. The Alliance's assault had nearly wiped them out. Though they had recovered somewhat, their numbers remained pitifully small. Only 3 elders stepped forward. As they closed their eyes, a vast surge of water spread outward. A monstrous wave rolled across the heavens, and from within it a giant black tortoise appeared. Its form was dim, almost worn. It let out a long, low hiss as the surging waters carried it toward the northern sky. Yet compared to the other 3 divine beasts, it was clearly weaker. Thus, the 4 divine beasts took their positions: Azure Dragon in the east, White Tiger in the west, Vermilion Bird in the south, and Black Tortoise in the north. Though it seemed like much had occurred, all of this unfolded in but a fleeting moment. The 4 divine beasts surrounded the heavens completely. The all-seer's expression darkened. Ancient devil, Tarja stared at the 4 beasts as well, his gaze turning cold. The Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor had prepared for this long ago. With a wave of his hand, the drop of blood flew into the Vermilion Bird and merged with it. The Vermilion Bird shrieked. Its flame surged violently, growing even more intense. Without hesitation, it charged toward the all-seer and ancient devil Tarja. At the same time, the other 3 divine sects acted. The Azure Dragon, the White Tiger, and the Black Tortoise roared as they descended. Their combined force unleashed an impact beyond imagination. The all-seer's face grew even gloomier. His right hand formed a seal and he pointed forward. Heavenly Fate, 7-colored tiger spirit. As his voice rang out, 7-colored light burst forth. From within it, a massive tiger emerged, equal in size to the white tiger, and lunged toward it. Heavenly Fate, 7-colored dragon spirit. Heavenly Fate, 7-colored tortoise spirit. With each shout, a 7-colored dragon and tortoise appeared. They roared and charged into battle. Then the all-seer himself formed another seal and rushed upward into the sky. Ancient devil, Tarja, staring at the four divine beasts, felt a flicker of fear rise within him. These four holy treasures seemed strangely familiar. Deep within his ancient memories, not those of Qing Lin, but his own, he had seen them before. He raised a hand and pointed to the heavens. Sun, moon, star, triple burial. At once the sky, dominated by the four divine beasts, was filled with starlight. It appeared abruptly, countless points of light shooting toward the beasts. Then came the moonlight. It pierced through all chaos, descending silently, as if it had always been there, illusory, yet real. Finally came the first and strongest of the three sun burial. As Tarja unleashed the spell light from the void beyond the demon spirit land, began to gather at a single point. More and more light converged. The point expanded, growing larger and brighter. Its brilliance filled the heavens, illuminating everything. When it had absorbed enough, it swelled to nearly 10,000 feet across. Its radiance was blinding. A mortal would have their eyes burst apart. Even a cultivator of insufficient strength would be pierced by its light. It became like a sun. With a piercing whistle, it hurtled directly toward the speck of dust that was the demon spirit land. The all-seer swept his sleeve and charged toward the four divine beasts. The vermilion bird divine emperor only shook his head. His voice remained calm, almost detached. Watch carefully. The four divine sects' holy treasures possess only 3 styles. Yet these 3 are enough to ensure our sect's eternal existence. His words were directed at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body was frail, barely able to endure, yet he still forced himself to look up. The eastern azure dragon Jiayi wood, the western white tiger Gengxin metal, the southern vermilion bird Bingding fire, the northern black tortoise Renki water. At the same time, the remaining sects spoke as one. Jia spirit, Gung spirit, Ren spirit. As their voices echoed, the four divine beasts roared and transformed. The azure dragon became a blue spear. The white tiger became a golden blade. The vermilion bird became a crimson longsword. The black tortoise became a black axe. The 4 weapons descended. The all-seer's summoned dragon spirit was pierced instantly by the blue spear, collapsing without resistance. The remaining spirits fared no better. They shattered under the first style of the 4 holy treasures, scattered and destroyed. Ancient devil, Tarja's starlight arrived, but it too was pierced and dispersed. The moonlight held for only a brief moment before fading away. The 4 holy treasures pressed forward, aimed directly at the all-seer and Tarja. At that very moment the heavens brightened. The sun burial descended. The massive sphere of light broke through the shattered sky of the demon spirit land, its brilliance engulfing everything. Though Tarja had not fully mastered the spell, it remained one of Qing Lin's most formidable techniques. As the light flooded the world, the 4 holy treasures gathered together. A terrifying force surged forth to meet it. A thunderous explosion echoed. The vermilion bird divine emperor's eyes turned icy. His hands formed a seal and he pointed forward. By my will as the vermilion bird divine emperor, I command the holy treasures merge as one. Ding earth. At the same time, the other 3 sects roared. Yi earth, Shin earth, Kai earth. Their voices resounded through the heavens. The 4 holy treasures shone brilliantly, converging into the vermilion bird's crimson longsword. In an instant, the sword expanded wildly, growing until it seemed capable of splitting heaven and earth itself. Behind it, the azure dragon spear, the white tiger blade, and the black tortoise axe manifested in support. The crimson sword descended. Its pressure alone, before even striking, caused the entire demon spirit land to tremble. The ground sank, forming a vast basin. Ancient devil, Tarja's eyes glowed red, yet the fear within them could not be concealed. All the Alliance cultivators drew in cold breaths, their faces pale with shock. They had only heard legends that the 4 divine sects' holy treasures could instill fear even in the brilliant void realm. Now, seeing them with their own eyes, they were shaken to their core. The long-forgotten might of the 4 divine sect had returned. Mu Bingmei watched the 4 divine beasts, her brows slowly knitting together. Yet when her gaze fell upon Wang Lin, Her expression turned complicated. She turned away, no longer paying attention to the battle. The old man of the brilliant void stared at the sky, fear flickering in his eyes. He knew these four holy treasures were not complete. There was a flaw, and that flaw lay with the black tortoise. The true black tortoise holy treasure should be in the hands of the Cultivation Alliance, in the possession of the former black tortoise divine emperor. A sharp light flickered within his eyes. Ancient devil Tajar's body erupted with endless demonic energy. It gathered and formed a towering devil shadow above him, vast and oppressive, as if it would pierce the heavens. Yet the moment the red longsword pressed downward, the shadow groaned. Its entire form was forced down. As the blade descended, the shadow raised both arms, struggling to resist. A thunderous crash followed. Its arms shattered instantly. They could not halt the sword in the slightest. Fear flooded ancient devil Tajar's eyes. Others might not recognize the four holy treasures, but he had watched closely. With every moment, his suspicion became certainty. This is a primordial heavenly Tao treasure, he gasped. The shadow above him trembled violently. It could not stop the blade. The sword cleaved it in half and continued downward, aiming straight for him. At that very instant, the allseer's eyes sharpened with resolve. He waved his sleeve. 7 colored lights surrounded his body. He inhaled deeply, then pointed upward and shouted, "Heavenly fate's 7 colors, will of the heavens, red." His body trembled. The red light split away from the 7-colored glow and shot toward the descending longsword. Orange. Another strand separated. One by one, he called out each color. The 7 lights peeled away and fused together, forming a radiant rainbow beam that surged forward. 7 lights fused into one and formed the diagram of the heavens. His black hair stirred without wind. With that final roar, the 7-colored lights spun rapidly, forming a swirling vortex. From within it, 3 wooden shells emerged. The all-seer seized them and cast them forward. The shells collided, then fell into position, forming a mysterious diagram. His gaze locked onto it as his hands formed seals. Then he pointed, borrowing fate to form Tao. The moment those words left his lips, an indescribable aura erupted from the shells. Even the descending red longsword paused for a brief instant. It was as if a hidden power was awakening, as if something within those shells was about to break free. The instant that aura spread, all who witnessed it were shaken. The brilliant void old man narrowed his eyes, a strange light flickering within them. So this is his Tao, not heavenly fate itself, but borrowing heavenly fate to form his own Tao. See, to cultivate Tao in such a way, to build such a domain. He has nearly glimpsed true Tao. Even ancient devil Tajar seemed to realize something. Shock filled his gaze as he stared at the all-seer. Wang Lin fixed his eyes on the aura emanating from the wooden shells. He knew it well. Within his storage bag were crystals taken from the skull of an 8-star ancient god. The aura of those crystals was exactly the same. As the aura intensified, the vermilion bird divine emperor's eyes narrowed. Without hesitation, he raised his right hand and activated the 3rd style of the vermilion bird holy treasure himself. Fire heaven. The red longsword let out a resounding hum. Flames burst forth, spreading across the sky. They surged through the very tear in the heavens. In an instant, half the starfield was engulfed in fire. From within the sword, an aura similar to the wooden shells emerged, but far stronger. The emperor's finger descended. The sword struck. It collided with the 3 wooden shells. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The heavens shook. A violent shockwave exploded outward. The wooden shells shattered instantly. Even the 7-colored vortex behind them was torn apart. The all-seer coughed up blood and retreated wildly. The longsword did not stop. It broke through all resistance and descended upon Tajia's forehead. At that moment, dense black mist gathered between his brows. His true ancient devil form emerged, charging outward with the intent to defy even the heavens. He was an ancient devil, one of the 3 ancient orders, a clan that defied heaven itself. As the sword fell, his furious roar echoed across the world. But the instant his true spirit appeared, the longsword flashed crimson. The drop of blood fused within the holy treasure flew out. It shot forward and landed directly between his brows. This blood, it isn't primordial heavenly Tao. Ancient devil, Tajia screamed. The space between his brows seemed to melt. The drop of blood pierced through. His true spirit was forced back into Qing Lin's body. As he tried to retreat, the blood followed and stamped itself upon Qing Lin's forehead, forming a scarlet seal. Taji's body trembled violently. He collapsed to the ground. The vermilion bird, divine emperor's origin soul, flickered. He had come only as an origin soul, and activating the holy treasure had consumed immense energy. The first two styles were manageable, but the third, even for him, the cost was heavy. His figure grew more transparent. Still, he waved his hand. The red longsword shot forward, chasing the retreating allseer. In an instant, it closed in and slashed toward his head. At that moment, the azure dragon spear, white tiger blade, and black tortoise axe all appeared. The intent to kill was unmistakable. The allseer's expression twisted. He jerked his head up. In that life-and-death moment, his right hand reached to his forehead and tore open the third seal only halfway. Even so, an unimaginable aura erupted. It was 10 times stronger than before. It clashed against the 4 holy treasures. Thunder roared. Shockwaves spread in all directions. The allseer coughed blood as he retreated again and again. In the blink of an eye, he tore open space and vanished. The red longsword hovered silently in the void. The vermilion bird divine emperor fell into thought. His figure grew increasingly transparent. He gazed at the place where the allseer had escaped and shook his head. I have grown old. In my prime, he would not have escaped the second style of the 4 holy treasures. He sighed, then looked across the crowd. His gaze finally rested on the brilliant void old man. Old friend, will you stand against my 4 divine sect again? The old man fell silent. He looked at the sealed ancient devil Tajia, then at the floating holy treasures. With his strength, if he chose to act, the only thing he feared was those treasures. This old man only came to repay Qing Lin's favor. Now that the ancient devil has been sealed, this matter ends here. Farewell. After weighing everything, he chose to withdraw. A deep fear lingered in his heart. Though the treasures were weaker than before, if the 4 divine sect were pushed to desperation and resorted to blood sacrifice, he sighed and rose into the sky. Before leaving, he turned to look at Bingmei. She hesitated. Then she bit her lip and spoke softly. Let me see him once. Just once. Is that all right? The vermilion bird divine emperor was taken aback. His gaze shifted toward Wang Lin, but he remained silent. Wang Lin's face was pale as death. His injuries had reached their limit. His origin soul was on the verge of dispersing. Bingmei's words caused his body to tremble faintly. The pain surfaced in his eyes. He did not turn. He did not answer her. Instead, he looked at the vermilion bird divine emperor. Will you take me back to the vermilion bird divine sect? The emperor nodded. Take care of my friends. They were injured because of me. Let them recover, and I will agree to any condition your sect demands. The emperor smiled. Agreed. At once the disciples of the 4 divine sect spread out, tending to the wounded. The alliance cultivators retreated, fear etched into their faces. A lot of my friends have lost their bodies. We will help them rebuild. My brother Situ has been poisoned by the corpse sect. I will handle it. My benefactor Zhou Yi needs Qing Lin to be revived. I will give you Qing Lin's body. If the sect's help is needed, you shall have it. In the demon spirit land, I have a direct disciple. I will send someone to bring them here. These alliance celestials tried to kill me. I want their origin souls. A cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He had never shown mercy to those who sought his death. The surrounding celestials fled in panic. The vermilion bird divine emperor's eyes lit up. This is simple. He waved his sleeve. The holy treasures split into 4 streams and swept across the battlefield. Screams filled the air. Bingmei bit her lip until it bled. Tears welled in her eyes as she cried out, Wang Lin, I want to see him. I beg you, let me see him." Wang Lin could not see her tears, but he knew his own pain would never fade. He closed his eyes. "I owe this woman a life-saving pill and a life-saving favor." The vermilion bird divine emperor smiled. "I will help you repay it. The brilliant void realm will be satisfied. Anything else?" Wang Lin was silent for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "Let's go." The emperor waved his sleeve. Wang Lin's body rose into the air. Wrapped in origin energy, he was carried toward the opening in the sky. "Wang Lin, he is my child. I want to see him." Bingmei's face was pale. Her body trembled. Her fists clenched tightly. "You're unworthy." Wang Lin suddenly turned and roared. For years he had suppressed all his emotions, his pain, his past. But now it burst forth. That single roar carried centuries of anguish. Already gravely injured, the outburst shook his mind. He coughed blood. His vision darkened. The four divine sect departed. They took everyone with them. 2 streams of tears fell from Bingmei's eyes. Her heart was torn apart. She coughed blood and collapsed. The old man from the brilliant void realm sighed. He waved his hand and carried her away. Only his ancient voice echoed through the void. Ill fate. The entire Alliance star system gradually calmed after the incident at the Celestial Emperor Cave. Though the cave itself was small, countless matters were tied to it far more than anyone had expected. In that battle, the Cultivation Alliance suffered devastating losses. Master Void had fallen. The former Celestial Lord had gone mad and vanished without a trace. A great number of Celestials were also lost. In the end, only a handful managed to return to the Alliance headquarters. The news spread like drifting snow. Within 2 months, nearly the entire Alliance star system had heard of it. Some refused to believe it. Some were deeply shaken. Others began forming their own thoughts and calculations. Countless opinions arose, each different from the next. Most people could not accept that the mighty Cultivation Alliance had suffered such a blow. Yet as time passed, more and more rumors surfaced. After another 3 months, disbelief could no longer be sustained. People were forced to accept the truth. What shocked the cultivators even more was the reappearance of the 4 divine sect. Rumor claimed that the vermilion bird divine emperor had personally appeared wielding the 4 holy treasures. With them, he severely injured Alliance elder Allseer and sealed the awakened celestial emperor Lin. This news shook the heavens. Shock spread everywhere, accompanied by a deep, unspoken fear hidden in the hearts of many. As the rumors spread, the image of the 4 divine sect slowly took shape in everyone's mind. The former overlord of the star system was like a savage beast that had slumbered for countless years and had now awakened. At the same time, the all-heaven cultivators halted their assault, as if weighing the truth behind the rumors. When this unbelievable news reached the cultivators outside the Alliance headquarters, silence fell. All were waiting for the Alliance to respond. Since its founding, anyone who dared offend the Alliance would die without leaving a corpse. They would face the Alliance's monstrous fury and merciless vengeance. Yet as everyone waited, the Alliance remained silent. They took no action at all. Time passed slowly. 3 months slipped by. The longer the silence lasted, the more uneasy the cultivators became. Silence from the Cultivation Alliance could only mean 2 things. Either they were preparing a heaven-shattering counterattack, or they had suffered a blow beyond imagination. At that very moment, the massive formation surrounding the Alliance headquarters activated. All external communication was severed. The entire system erupted into chaos. All heaven immediately launched a full-scale assault. Their forces surged forward like a flood, overwhelming all resistance from the Alliance. 1 month after the offensive began, the mysterious Corpse sect suddenly announced its neutrality. They withdrew from the conflict between all heaven and the Alliance. At the same time, they claimed the southern domain as their own, sealing it completely. No cultivator outside the Corpse sect was allowed to enter. Anyone who stepped into the southern domain would face devastating attacks from the Corpse sect. This declaration of independence sent shockwaves through the Alliance, leaving countless people stunned. Yet even then, the Alliance headquarters remained silent. Without orders, the scattered alliance forces across the system were forced to unite on their own to resist all heaven. But without coordination, their resistance was weak. They were pushed back again and again under all heaven's relentless assault. After another year of warfare, all heaven completely occupied the northern domain. With the western and northern domains now connected, their territory expanded into one continuous expanse. Nearly 2 years had passed since the events at the Celestial Emperor Cave. During that time, no word came from the Alliance headquarters. The formation sealed it, completely preventing any entry. From afar, the headquarters no longer resembled a place of power. It looked like a dead realm. Rumors began to spread, whispers that the Alliance headquarters had been destroyed, leaving no survivors behind. The former Alliance cultivators went through a slow transformation. At first they held hope. Then came disappointment. Finally despair took root. They began forming their own factions. Large and small forces emerged, dividing the star system. New sects appeared like bamboo shoots after rain. Some groups combined their strength to control 3 to 5 planets. Others, more powerful, seized over 10 planets and established their own sects. There were also former Rank 7 cultivation countries. Without the Alliance's control, they declared independence just like the Corpse sect. Among all these forces, 4 stood above the rest. Of these 4, 2 were especially dominant. They were the only remaining Rank 8 cultivation countries, the country of Rising Cloud and the country of Reed Flute. Both retained most of their strength. 1.5 years after the Alliance fell silent, they declared their independence. The other 2 powerful forces had once been pillars of the Alliance. Through conflict and mutual devouring, they transformed into new powers. They were the Temple of Heaven and the Evil Earth sect. Beyond these 4 major powers lay countless scattered factions. All were concentrated within the central region of the system. All heaven, however, was not satisfied. Having seized the west and north, they turned their attention to what remained. 3 choices lay before them: the Corpse sect in the south, the fragmented Alliance forces in the center, and the mysterious eastern region. They were unwilling to provoke the Corpse sect without necessity. As for the east, their analysis suggested it now belonged to the 4 divine sect, though no proof had been obtained. In truth, all heaven feared the 4 divine sect even more than the Corpse sect. Thus their first target became the Alliance remnants and the headquarters itself. Their army prepared to advance. But at that critical moment, the formation surrounding the Alliance headquarters suddenly activated and slowly began to open. This opening swept across the Alliance star system like a storm. All heaven immediately halted its advance. Even the Corpse sect began watching closely. As for the former Alliance cultivators who had formed their own sects, their attention was fixed entirely on the headquarters. Yet when it opened, the Alliance did not move against the newly formed sects. It allowed them to exist. Instead, it issued a kill order. Kill Wang Lin. This man was once a member of All Heaven, known by the alias Shumu, Taoist name Master Demon, the All Heaven Thunder Celestial. He is now a member of the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect of the 4 Divine Sect. Whoever obtains his origin soul will receive the Celestial Realm inheritance held by the Cultivation Alliance. Alongside this came a sealed decree. All sects formed by former Alliance cultivators that resist All Heaven for 60 years and protect the headquarters will be granted entry into the Elder Group and share the full power of the Celestial Realm inheritance. Those who flee without fighting will have their life souls destroyed when the Alliance falls. At the same time, a vast number of treasures and jade slips were distributed. These were resources accumulated over countless years. Their release in such quantity revealed the grave danger the headquarters faced. After issuing the orders and distributing the treasures, the formation activated once more, sealing the headquarters completely. Yet that brief opening chilled the hearts of countless cultivators. Most did not possess their own life souls. The stronger they were, the more firmly the Alliance held control over them. Resistance meant death. This was how the Alliance had ruled for countless years. The moment the orders were released, the 4 Divine Sect rose in the eastern region. Just as All Heaven had suspected, They eradicated all other forces in the east, except for the brilliant Void Realm. Now the entire Alliance star system was fragmented. It had become a battlefield for multiple powers. Though all heaven appeared strongest, the presence of the Corpse Sect, the fearsome Four Divine Sect, and the desperate Alliance remnants armed with treasures and bound by their life souls created a fragile balance. Yet this balance could not end the feud between Master Flamespark of All Heaven and the Cultivation Alliance. Once more, All Heaven launched its assault toward the central region. War spread like wildfire. Casualties mounted with each passing day. At this time, within the eastern region, deep inside the territory of the Four Divine Sect, a star field burned. At its center stood a massive white stone. Upon it sat a young man. He wore white robes. His appearance was ordinary, yet his presence was not. He carried an indescribable aura, calm, distant, almost celestial. His eyes were closed. As he breathed, his chest rose and fell slowly. Two streams of gas flowed from his nostrils, forming dragon-like shapes. They circled around him before returning drawn back into his body through his nose and mouth. At the same time, white flames surged from the stone beneath him, flowing into his body, along with the twin gas dragons. He had sat there for 2 years. In those 2 years, he had not moved. He remained still, cultivating in silence, absorbing the flames and repairing the wounds of his origin soul. Behind him stood an old man. The old man was frail, his vitality nearly exhausted. From time to time, he would raise his trembling hand and press a finger against the young man's back. Each time his finger touched his body would shake violently. Streams of origin energy would pour out from him, entering the youth's body. The young man would tremble in response. His white hair stirred without wind. The heat within him surged, growing ever more intense. In the Vermilion Bird Divine Sect, every generation of Divine Emperor must master the Vermilion Bird 9 mysterious transformation. This technique originates from primordial times and stands among the most powerful spells in existence today.